much. Hare Krishna. Welcome, everyone.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandvat
Hare Krishna,
Pranam.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Dandvat
Krishna,
Pranam.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Dandvat Pranam. So nice to see all of you. Yes. Okay. So sorry for the break. We are continuing now after 2 weeks. So I'll start with the Mangala Charan prayers. And then today we're doing chapter 10. So we're making good progress. We go up till chapter 19. And some of the future chapters are really short. So hopefully we'll do like a few in one day. But let's see. But we will definitely start now. Om Jnanam Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahmayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitangsha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Dudu lao, kuch bhi lao.
So this is chapter 10. Today we continue with the items of devotional service. So these remaining items until 59 are simply additional limbs of devotional service, which we are covering. And in this chapter, only 4 or 5 items are covered because the emphasis is on hearing and remembering Krishna, which is, one could say the most important limb of devotional service. It all starts with Shravanam, right? Hearing about Krishna. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, remembering Krishna. So a special emphasis is given on these items. And though these are not the 5 most potent items of devotional service, but these are items that are centered around one of the most potent items of devotional service, and that is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So we'll go into this more. Text 43, one must hear about the Lord and his pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and similar books. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and similar books, because these are all of the same quality. They're the same, they're all Bhagavatam. If there are repeating the words of Bhagavatam, they're all Bhagavatam. Like the books of our acharyas, like Narottam Das Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, their books are also Bhagavatam. Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Charitamrita, these are also Bhagavatam. In this age, it is very difficult to follow thoroughly the regulative principles and studies of the Vedas, which were formerly recommended. However, if one gives oral reception to the sound vibration by great devotees and acharyas, that alone will give him relief from all material contamination. That will give us relief from material contamination. It's such a relief to be relieved of material contamination, right? This age, everything is against us. Everything is against us, right? It's so fallen, it's so contaminated. We keep falling into the same habits that we had before. But here, Prabhupada is saying the only way out is to give oral reception to the sound of the great devotees and acharyas. Number 44, one must pray to the deity for his mercy. So deities are not just for seeing, or we should actually pray to them because they are Krishna. Krishna is there. This statement of Srimad Bhagavatam should be the guide of all devotees. My dear Lord, any person who is constantly awaiting your causeless mercy to be bestowed upon him, and who goes on suffering the resultant actions of his past misdeeds, offering you respectful obeisances from the core of his heart, is surely eligible to become liberated, for it has become his rightful claim. So, this is the point here, that no matter what we do, no matter what we say, we must wait for the mercy of Krishna very earnestly and very patiently. And this verse, Tatenu kampam shushamikshimano bhunjan evato kritam vipakam, this is spoken by Lord Brahma to Krishna. Lord Brahma is the founder of our sampradaya, and he is speaking to Lord Krishna these words, that anyone who goes on waiting for your mercy and earnestly waiting for your mercy, such a person, for such a person, though he is suffering, he goes on tolerating it. He goes on still serving you in spite of all these difficulties. Such a person makes liberation his rightful claim. So on the path of our devotional life, it will not be an easy path, right? Chaitanya Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj said that the path of devotion is one that is laden by thorns. And Jesus Christ said this very similar thing, that our path to bhakti will not be easy because we have just this one short life to purify, to intensify, and prove our devotion to Krishna. So from beginning to end, until the last moment, Krishna will keep purifying us and testing us. But then he rewards the devotee with his eternal abode and his eternal service. And the only companion that the devotee has is on this path that is so difficult, is earnestly praying to the Lord, is the Lord's shelter. This very beautiful verse is being said by Lord Shiva to Parvati after Parvati curses Maharaj Chitraketu to become a demon, and Maharaj Chitraketu very graciously accepts that curse he says how the devotees of the Lord, even if they are mistreated, if they are killed, if they are defamed, if they are ignored, neglected, or insulted or criticized, they never wish to take revenge or respond to such situations because they take shelter of Krishna. They take shelter of Krishna. And similarly, we see in the case of Maharaj Parikshit that though he is cursed by the Brahman boy, and the Brahman boy is wrong in cursing Maharaj Parikshit, and though Maharaj Parikshit, being a great devotee of the Lord, had the power to deflect the Brahmana's curse, Prabhupada writes this specifically, that Parikshit Maharaj, if he wanted to, he had the power to nullify his curse. He still accepts it. He still does not try to get it adjusted or changed or nullified, because he was so absorbed in Krishna consciousness and so devoted to Krishna's service and so confident of Krishna's protection that he didn't want to put the energy into trying to fix it. He preferred to take shelter of Krishna, which he does in the form of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is the first one that we did today, 43, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. The only way we can surpass this test, the only way we can overcome this and be able to actually live our life in this way that Lord Brahma has said, is by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and by praying to the Lord earnestly, like in the last thing that we talked about. These two things are our companions. 45, one should remember the deity. Every day one should remember the deity. So not that once a week, Sunday, or we just forget Krishna, and on the days when we can, we do. No, every day we offer some service to the deity. Some way or other, if someone establishes in his mind his continuous relationship with Krishna, this relationship is called remembrance. So when we love someone very deeply, we remember them every day, not just sometimes. So if we establish our continuous relationship with Krishna, this relationship is called remembrance. One should meditate upon the deity. Should meditate upon the deity. Remembrance means to think of Krishna in general. Meditation is a deeper, more detailed contemplation, which is of 4 types. So from remembrance, we're now going to meditation. And here, so subtle is the science of bhakti. Prabhupada and Rupa Goswami are explaining that there are 4 types of meditation, which is a deeper form of remembrance. To meditate means to engage the mind in thinking of the form of the Lord, the qualities of the Lord, the activities of the Lord, and the service of the Lord. Which is very interesting because we talk about generally 3 things: guna, rupa, and lila. Qualities, form, and activities. And here it's in the order of rupa, guna, and lila. But then there's a 4th one answered, and that is meditation on the seva of the Lord. And progressively, our meditation progresses and increases. Example, meditation on service. So now the meditation part is being focused on. We generally think that in our process, there's no meditation. There's no meditation like the dry meditation, but the devotee is always meditating on Krishna. So the meditation is fully integrated in bhakti, or is a manifestation of bhakti. So here's the example. In some of the Puranas, the evidence is given that if someone is simply meditating on devotional activities, he has achieved the desired result and has seen face to face the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this connection, there is a story in the Brahma Vaivarta Puran that in the city of Pratishthanapura in South India, there was once a Brahman because the Brahman was not very well-to-do financially, he decided that he would simply meditate on grand royal devotional activities. So the devotees of the Lord are always unlimitedly wealthy to serve the Lord, because if they don't have it, then they can offer it in their mind. And this is a very powerful form of service. It's seva dhyanam. The dhyanam, the meditation on service or serving through meditation, in meditation. We see that Nrsimha Brahmachari in the Chaitanya Charitamrita does it in the very same way. We see that it was Sanatan Goswami, I'm forgetting completely, who offers the sweet rice in his meditation. It does it in the same way. We can understand that things offered by the devotees, even in meditation, are accepted by the Lord, and they help one achieve the desired result. So, very short chapter, as I promised to you. These are very short chapters, just 4 or 5 items. So today we get to do 2 chapters. So sometimes we cannot do Abhishek, we cannot offer things to Krishna in person, we are traveling, we cannot take care of our deities due to circumstance, not as an excuse. But if we are in a circumstance where we cannot physically serve the Lord, serve the deities in particularly, we can do it mentally. We can try to do it mentally. Same thing with offering our food, right? We do that all the time. We cannot physically offer it, but we, need to eat an apple, something we're at work, then we mentally offer it. So that offering is accepted by Krishna, and the devotees of the Lord are very practiced in their meditation serving Krishna. Now, chapter 11. Evidence is given for items 47 to 53 now of the 64 angas of bhakti, with emphasis on servitude, friendship, and surrender. So we did Shavanam and Smaranam. Now we're doing Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. 47. One should render the same voluntary service. So, of the 9 processes, main process of devotional service, one is Dasyam, serving the Lord, becoming a servant of the Lord. One should render some voluntary service. We sometimes think, well, I went and I did this service in the temple and did this. Was it any use? Was it useful? Maybe I should just do one service. But no, this is our process of bhakti. It's also natural to the soul to help out. And Krishna appreciates that, to render some voluntary service when we can. There's nothing wrong with that. Voluntarily offering service. If one is not interested in the pleasure of the Lord, but offers Krishna the results of one's activities, such is bhakti, but not pure bhakti. It is karma yoga. Prabhupada writes that the activities of Varna Ashram contain elements that are identical to those of bhakti. Therefore, even the karma kandis gradually become purified. To serve means to only think of pleasing the Lord, but a neophyte who is fixed on the goal of simply pleasing Krishna, but is still attracted to sense enjoyment, to sense gratification, can offer the results of his or her activities as part of the gradual process of pure bhakti. So, why this voluntary devotional service is so necessary? To engage people in general, the masses, and also even devotees, because our goal, desires is to please Krishna, but we're attracted to sense gratification. So by offering some voluntary service, we're engaging the results of our activities or our activities in devotional service. So voluntarily, we decide to, sponsor a feast at the temple. So that is engaging the result of our activities in the service of Krishna. We have a strong body, so we did help in, moving the book boxes. And that is engaging the results of our activities, which may be a result of going to the gym every day in service to Krishna. And this is maybe not pure bhakti, but it leads one to the process, to the practice of pure bhakti. 48. One should think of the Lord as one's friend. One should think of the Lord as one's friend. Friendship as sadhana bhakti, Vishvasa. The Lord is my friend and protector. Mitra, I am the Lord's friend and I try to make him happy. So this is our process of friendship. So in this process, it's described that normally we are serving Krishna, but then if we are more intense in our service, then we actually become a friend to Krishna. And Prabhupada explains that friendship to Krishna in our context means friendship to Krishna in our context means preaching Krishna consciousness. When we preach Krishna consciousness, then we become a friend to Krishna. And when we are preaching Krishna consciousness, then we become a friend to Krishna. This is the effect of friendship. So why preach is particularly friendship? Because when we love someone, when we are someone's friend, then we want others to see them in a good light, right? Then we want others to see them in a good light. But when we are inimical to someone, then we want others to see them in a bad light. So if we are actually friends with Krishna, then we want Krishna. We want everyone to see Krishna in a good light. So that preaching is actually very intimate service to Krishna because we're becoming a friend to Krishna. Vishvasa means to have strong faith or confidence in the Lord as one's benefactor. Vishvasa means to have strong faith or confidence in the Lord as one's benefactor. This is one of the principles of bhakti. As part of becoming Krishna's friend, a friend can depend on another's friend, right? They say a friend is someone who's friend, not just in times of need, right? So Vishwasa means to have strong faith or confidence in the Lord as one's benefactor, and this manifests in this verse that Lord Brahma has said, the Tate Nukampam Shushamikshimana verse, where Lord Brahma is saying that the devotee patiently awaits the Lord's mercy. Why? Because they have Vishwas. They have confidence that whatever Krishna is giving me is for my good. Whatever he is giving me is meant to improve me, is meant to make me more devoted to him. And that's why I should not be dejected. I should not lose my confidence or my determination to serve Krishna. Rather, I should become more determined because this suffering, whatever I'm going through, these tribulations, these oppositions, these are just meant to deepen my devotional life, or maybe to make me more tolerant or more humble or more compassionate. And so that is the Vishwas, the faith that whatever Krishna puts forward, Madhubhi Rakobhi Jo Ichha Tuhar, right? Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, you embrace me or you push me away, you are my Lord. Because that is Vishwas, that is a confidence. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, right? Which is the verse of the Shishashtaka where he says this. You may make me brokenhearted.
Eight verse.
Yes. So, Ashishiva padaritam pinashtumam adarshanad marmahatam karotuva yatha tatha va vidadhatu mat prananathastu seva napara. So you are mat prananathastu. You are the Lord of my prana, of my heart. Whatever you do, my Lord, you may make me brokenhearted or you may embrace me. You are my Lord, birth after birth. You are the Lord of my heart, the prana. of the Lord of my heart. So that is the Vishvasa of a devotee. The terms Shraddha, faith, and Vishvasa are synonymous, but are used with different shades of meaning. Here, Vishvasa is a practice for bringing about a particular result of Shraddha, and also being the topmost result of Shraddha. So Shraddha is, we all have that. We have some faith in the process and in the Lord. The Lord is there, the process works, and Krishna is most wonderful. All these things we have that faith. But Vishwas is the topmost result of Shraddha, meaning Vishwas is a full confidence in the Lord. That the Lord is my, not just I have faith in Him, but whatever the Lord is doing is for my good. And that is Vishwas. The devotee who has confidence in devotional service to the Lord systematically follows the rules and regulations with the faith that he will achieve the platform of transcendental life. And this is why there's no they don't waver in their devotional life, these great devotees, because they have confidence that this process works. They follow the rules and regulations, and they achieve the platform of transcendental life. And one thing you'll notice, I've noticed in my spiritual life, that most of the problems are on the mental level. They're on the mind. If we go on with the activities of devotional life, everything works out. But what disturbs us are is the thing of the mind, but that's not actually very important. If the functions go on, if the activities of devotional life go on, and if our heart is attached to Krishna and we are doing it with the intention of pleasing Krishna, then everything else gradually resolves. Krishna resolves everything. Draupadi says, "O Govinda, remembering again and again your promise that your devotee will never perish, I maintain my life." So this is one of the qualities, right, of bhakti, expecting the Lord's mercy. The devotee of the Lord expects the Lord's mercy. They know that very soon the Lord's mercy will manifest, and that's why, um, they maintain themselves. So many devotees are examples of this, who were maintaining their life, and not just maintaining it, but flourishing in their devotional life, or deepening in their bhakti, simply based on the confidence that Krishna will fulfill their promise, that Krishna never lets their devotee perish, and like this. Anyone want to mention the names of some devotees?
Prabhu Vibhishan.
Vibhishan, that's a nice example. I wasn't thinking of Vibhishan. Though he's living amongst demons, he knows that Lord Ramachandra is always protecting his devotees. And he waits in his cottage in Lanka until Lord Ram comes. And even after that, so many reversals happen during the battle, but he's always confident on Krishna's protection and promise. Who else?
Bhakta Prahlad.
Prahlad.
Prahlad Maharaj. Very nice example. Okay, who else?
Dhruv Maharaj.
Dhruva Maharaj. I mean, a little bit, yes. Yes, he has confidence in the Lord, which is given kind of by his spiritual master. But he doesn't wait much long. He just immediately starts meditating on Krishna, and 6 months later, he sees the Lord. So yes.
Mirabai.
Maharaj.
Mirabai, and then who said what? What was the other one?
Amrish Maharaj.
Amrish Maharaj.
Uttara.
Uttara.
Sudama.
Sudama. Yes, Sudama had so much faith. Yes, Amrish Maharaj also 1 year he waited. Sudama Brahman.
Kunti
Yes.
Maharani Prabhuji.
Kunti is a nice example. Yes, very much like Draupadi. Kunti actually went through more suffering. She went through the most suffering among all the Pandavas, because it's more difficult to see your loved ones to go through something than even sometimes that even to go through it oneself. She saw all of her 6 sons suffer. She saw Draupadi suffer, and the greatest insult being done to her daughter-in-law. And then she herself lost her husband. She was living in exile for some time. She herself also suffered. So yes, Draupadi is a wonderful. Therefore, she says the famous prayer that Krishna, please give me more suffering, because she is the only one who could say it because she suffered the most. Yes, please go ahead.
And how about
Will-
Srila Prabhupada?
Srila Prabhupada is a good example. Yeah,
Will Vidur
amazing example.
Maharaj, will Vidur Maharaj would be an example or not?
Yeah, Vidur could also be an example. He was suffering so much, tolerating so much, as Duryodhan's, having to live in a place where he would never want to live, but just there with the hope that Krishna may turn things around, doing his service. I was thinking of the gopis. Right? The gopis maintain their life because Krishna promised that he will come. And Krishna does come. Not well known, but Krishna does come. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says he comes back and meets them. And that's also connected with the story of Lord Jagannath, actually. One pastime is in Dwarka, but another one is of Krishna coming to Vrindavan. He actually comes and he becomes so overcome by affection for Srimati Radharani that in Vrindavan also he manifests that Jagannath form. He becomes immovable because of ecstasy. But for 100 years, the gopis were waiting every day, and every day they would decorate the streets, put flowers on the streets, because they would again and again remember Govinda's promise and how much faith it takes, right? I mean, a person does it for 1 year, for 2 years. After, for example, the departure of the spiritual master, devotees are very much in separation from the spiritual master for 6 months, a year. But then after that, many of them, some of them, fizzle away in their remembrance or in the determination of following the instruction. But they, for 100 years, show that example that what was 100 years, even 1,000 years, they would do it. But for 100 years, every single day, day after day, they would decorate all the streets that if Krishna came today, then is our reception going to be ready? Because he said he's coming. And if Krishna comes today, he should not feel, this was specifically mentioned in a lecture by Gaur Govinda Maharaj, that he should he should not feel that we have been suffering. Because if he feels that Vrindavan pretty much died without his company, which is the fact, that's what happened. But if he feels that way, then that will give his heart great pain, right? Just like if we go on a nice vacation and we come back and we find out our family is suffering, then it's worse, right? It's because on one hand, we were not even going. If you're there, is no problem. But when you go and you have a good time, but the people who you love are suffering in your separation, let's say, just a mundane example, then you feel, guilty. The happiness that you've enjoyed all becomes, flat. So Krishna is the king of Dwarka, and he has the 16,108 wives, and he's like the most glorious king, emperor of the world. And when he comes here, he may feel bad. And so we don't want him to feel that Vrindavan was dying without him. So they're decorating it and making it look like it's bursting with joy, even though their lives are about, they're dying out of separation from Krishna. And that is, therefore, they're the highest devotees, because they maintain their life simply for the pleasure of Krishna. Srimati Radharani and all the gopis would have preferred to have died. That separation was so difficult for them. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that the fact that I'm still living means I have no love for Krishna. Because if the separation was so great, then dying would be easier for me. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying that out of his humility, because that was like Srimati Radharani, that's preferable. That separation is so great. But they maintain their life simply for the pleasure of Krishna. And similarly, a nice example is Shabari. right, in the Ramayana, that her spiritual master promised that Lord Ram will come. And so very similar in the mood of the gopis, every day, the whole path to the ashram, she would go to the forest, get flowers, and she would cover the path with flowers. Every day she would pick those famous bear, shabri ki bear, that I think maybe Jack, not it's the little black thing. She would take that, I think, and eat each one, taste it, and then keep a few dozen aside. That if Lord Ram came, I need to have very sweet fruits ready for him. Those were the only fruits there, so she would keep those ready. And then one fine day, Lord Ram comes, and the path is laden with flowers, and she has a basket full of fruits that are half eaten by her, that have been tasted, not half eaten, but tasted by her. And she offers those fruits to Lord Ram, and Lord Ram takes them like the most delicious offering, even though the principle is that you never eat before offering. But she's on the level of spontaneous love, so she's doing this out of her spontaneous attachment. And so Lord Ram feels the greatest joy eating those, even though Lakshman is sitting next to him, frowning. How is it that Lord Ram is getting these uh, uh, juta, they say, the half-eaten, sort of impure, so to say, fruits as a pastime, right? He's in, but then he's seeing that Lord Ram's and his devotees' relationship is so close that the Lord accepts this from his devotee. So, so as the greatest offering, So this is the principle here of Vishwas, that the Lord has so much love for his devotee that the devotee has unlimited confidence in the Lord. In all kinds of tribulations, I simply remember your promise, and thus I live. So Draupadi is a very great devotee of the Lord. In the cinematized versions of Mahabharata, that doesn't come across so much. Like, in those versions, Draupadi is more shown as someone who wants revenge and who wants justice and, is angry with what happened. But if you actually read the pastimes, Draupadi is a pure devotee of Krishna, right, of the highest caliber. And this is why, and in general also, they insulting a lady like this, but specifically this is why when the Kauravas insult Draupadi in this way, they try to strip her naked, insult her, then uh, then uh, then Krishna decides that their lives are shortened due to this offense. Then the battle of Kurukshetra becomes unavoidable. And such a powerful lesson here that, Krishna and Arjuna, they go to the middle of the battlefield. Arjuna is saying, I don't want to fight. But Krishna is telling him, you must fight. This fight is now destined. And why? Because Krishna cannot tolerate an offense to his devotee. So he's already decided in his mind that all of these people who are sitting in that assembly, watching this, not opposing it, all of them must now receive the reaction of that offense. And so many, readings of the Mahabharata, they say, oh, see, the battle of Kurukshetra actually started with Draupadi's insult, and that's why the message is you shouldn't insult women, and that's why the message is that, it's a perverted one you hear often. That's why the message is that all conflicts actually ultimately start with women, and women are the inspiration. When I've heard these things, right? These are kind of the materialistic readings of the Mahabharata. Um, and various commentaries on it. And those, all the scriptures can be understood in different modes of nature. So the Mahabharata can be understood simply on the level of mundane piety. And that is on that level. But the ultimate reason, the higher level, the transcendental level on which we can understand this great literature, the Mahabharata, is the relationship between Krishna and his devotees. And not just Draupadi, but also the Pandavas, Queen Kunti. Once the offenses of these demons became very intense, then Krishna decides to destroy them. So I was just hearing in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, such a nice book, Chaitanya Bhagavat's narration, that that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying that one who collaborates with another devotee to is such a subtle point. He was saying, it's the first time I heard it, so it's interesting. That's why I'm repeating it here. There's one who collaborates with another devotee to criticize another devotee. So, like two devotees sometimes find common friendship in their criticism of another devotee. Such devotees, one who collaborates with another devotee to criticize another devotee, such a devotee is destroyed by the Lord. This verse was saying. So we have to be so careful, even if we have the support of other devotees. If we together criticize a devotee, even if they're wrong, but if we criticize them, then, and we're taking pleasure in criticizing them, or not even pleasure, but just not doing it in the right way, then the reaction comes upon us very seriously. Lord Chaitanya says he is such a devotee is destroyed by the Lord. So very you have to be super careful in our dealings with devotees, like Sridhar Maharaj, Prabhupada's disciple Sridhar Maharaj. He would say, even if you're right, you are still wrong. Right? When we offend devotees, even if we are right, we are still wrong. Because devotees are very dear to Krishna. And sometimes, there's multiple ways of seeing things, and sometimes people have a blind spot. They don't mean bad, or they have some anartha, but overall they're very dear to Krishna, right? They have an anartha, but they're also very dear to Krishna. And not recognizing the service that they have done, but only focusing on the mistake that they have, can become an offense. Even though it's true, it's a mistake, and we're right, but it can become an offense. So the whole Mahabharata battle happened, and these great souls, even like Dronacharya and Kripacharya and Bhishma, externally speaking at least, of course internally everything was the plan of the Lord, but they had to be vanquished because they offended Draupadi. They offended a great devotee of the Lord, who was always simply remembering Krishna and remembering the promise of Krishna. In all these tribulations, she was not fighting back. She was simply remembering she was becoming more and more surrendered to Krishna. And even in the Vastraharan section, right? She's simply trying to defend herself. She's pulling on her sari, pulling back on her sari as the sasha is pulling on her sari. But then even that she leaves, and she raises her hand up to Krishna in full surrender, showing her confidence, her vishvasa. How much vishvasa she has, that she, rather than trying to hold her sari and protect her, she raises her hand in the air and calls out to Krishna. And then immediately Krishna comes to her protection. So that is how great devotees of the Lord are, and the greatness of their vishvas. The lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are one's life and soul. One will not give up his shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, even for a single moment. Wow. Amazing, huh? And we see this in the example of great devotees, that even a single moment, whatever happens, they never take shelter. More important than solving the problem for them is to take shelter of Krishna, is to be Krishna conscious. If it's a choice between solving the problem and a choice between being Krishna conscious, then they choose being Krishna conscious. So they never, we have to remember ourselves that never to engage in trying to solve the problem so much, or spend so much time in it, that we don't have time to chant, to read, and to serve Krishna, right? Because then our mind will become contaminated But if we keep up our service to Krishna as our primary focus, and then if possible, as much as possible, we try to solve the problem with full responsibility, then we may be successful, because we must never give up the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, knowing that ultimately it is Krishna who solves the problem. Right? In any situation, it's not us who solves it, it's ultimately Krishna who solves it. So we simply have to take shelter of Krishna. Even in exchange for the benediction of ruling the entire universe, the post of a Devata. So sometimes we get an amazing opportunity, and because of these amazing opportunities, we decide to give up the service of Krishna. Or due to the amazing opportunity, we become lax in our devotional practices, we become lax in our service to Krishna. And that is not okay. That is not the highest form of devotion. That's okay, but we have to progress. We have to, even in exchange, someone offers us the position of Director of National Intelligence. But we should not forget to do our chanting and our service to Krishna. I was just listening to a class by His Grace Vaisheshika Maharaj, where he was speaking to devotees before a japa, morning japa chanting time. And he was saying that a devotee never gives up his daily chanting of 16 rounds, and he chants in a way that his life depends on it, right? I mean, no, and he doesn't give it up in the way that in the mentality that my life depends on this, right? So everything else is less important. Even in exchange for the greatest benediction, a devotee will not give up his chanting, his attachment to Krishna, will not compromise on his spiritual life. Summary of Vishvasa. The Lord is my benefactor and friend, and my only shelter. From him only I get maintenance and protection. I take solace in his promise of protection in all difficulties, and I will not give up his shelter for any material opulence. So beautiful. This is written by Mother Urmila Mataji. She's written this. The Lord is my benefactor and friend and my only shelter. From him only I get maintenance and protection. This is one of the 6 limbs of bhakti. Accepting the Lord as one's only protector, right? So the recognition that he is my benefactor and friend, but he's giving maintenance and protection. I take solace in his promise of protection in all difficulties, and I will not give up his shelter for any material opulence. The second type of devotional friendship is to become a well-wisher of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now we had 2 aspects of friendship. Now we're doing the second one. The first one was Vishvasa, now is Mitra. So in the first case, the devotee has unflinching faith in Krishna's protection, that Krishna is protecting me. In the second one, see how sweet bhakti is, that like when we were discussing the first one, we were feeling it couldn't get sweeter, right? But now it gets even sweeter, or the sweetness is completed. It's now even expanded more. That in this case of friendship, now we become the benefactor and the friend to Krishna. We are Krishna's well-wisher. Like Prabhupada used to write, "You're ever well-wisher." So Krishna's our ever well-wisher. Now we can write to Krishna and say, "You're ever well-wisher, Gopal Haridas," right? So we become Krishna's well-wisher. Anyone who is preaching the confidential message of the Gita to the people in general is so dear to Krishna that no one can be equal to him in human society. Anyone who is preaching the confidential message of the Gita to the people in general is so dear to Krishna that no one can be equal to him in human society. Amazing, huh? Prabhupada is writing, and he's obviously quoting from the Bhagavad Gita itself, where Krishna says, Nacha tasmat manusheshu kasyad yatati siddhate yatatam visiddhanam kashin mam veti tatvata. That one who is preaching this message, Nacha tasmat manusheshu, no one, no manushya, no person is more dear to me. And this is a fact that by preaching Krishna consciousness, we become so dear to Krishna that Krishna and the spiritual master become indebted to such a devotee. This is why book distribution and other forms of preaching are so important and so powerful, because a devotee becomes very, very dear to Krishna simply by preaching Krishna consciousness. In regard to worshipping the Lord as a friend, the Agastya Samhita states that a devotee engaged in performing devotional service by Shravanam and Kirtanam sometimes wants to see the Lord personally, and for this purpose he resides in the temple. So, my Guru Maharaj, Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, he would always stay in the temple wherever he would travel. Like, some of his disciples had mansions, and like they're very, very wealthy. Because they're very wealthy, they had these amazing mansions. And when they would get the mansion, they would keep a permanent room for him, because they thought, this is like the best benediction a householder can have, is if the spiritual master comes and resides. And in some places, the facilities in the temples was really run down, right? Like the rooms were crummy, the bathrooms, the plumbing wasn't working properly. Not just in America, around the world, right? So the rooms in the temple were not good, or what was available was not good. But my Guru Maharaj would insist wherever he went, he would stay in the temple. And one time we asked him, this, their devotees were really pushing Maharaj that, look, we made this nice arrangement at this devotee's family. He lives 5 minutes away, and Maharaj, it will be so comfortable for you. Your health is not good. This accommodation in the temple has stairs, and it's not safe. These stairs, you can fall from the stairs, and we made the most comfortable accommodation for you at this person's home. But then my Guru Maharaj would respond. He would say that, for me, the temple is more comfortable. I'm more comfortable in the temple. He would often say, I don't like living anywhere else other than where the deities are. And this is this state of ecstasy, that a devotee engaged in performing devotional service by Shravanam Kirtanam sometimes wants to see the Lord personally, and for this purpose he resides in the temple. Not just residing there and being close and having darshan in the morning, but even times during the day, Maharaj would feel separation from the deities, and he would say, I'm doing evening arti, I'm doing afternoon arti, like 12:30 arti. No one is there, but he would go and do it, because he wanted to see the Lord personally. Because a devotee is attached to Krishna like a friend, like two friends. They miss each other when they're not together. They want to meet and talk. So the devotee wants to see the Lord, misses the Lord when they don't see the Lord, and therefore wants to physically go in touch with the Lord. Then someone may ask, but if the pure devotee is a pure devotee, then they're seeing Krishna always. They're always seeing Krishna. So why then are they running to the temple to offer artik or to have darshan of the Lord? Why do they go to the places of pilgrimage to see the forms of the Lord? If they are pure devotees, they're always seeing Krishna. So one time Prabhupada was asked this question. And he was asked this question in the context of the spiritual master, where in the Dhuna Maharaj asked Srila Prabhupada, he said, if the pure disciple is always seeing the spiritual master, then why does he miss the spiritual master when the spiritual master is not there? Or when the spiritual master leaves, why does he miss him? And to this, Srila Prabhupada said that when you advance, you will understand. Right? When you advance, you will understand. Yes, the devotee is always seeing Krishna everywhere, but still being with Krishna is still different. Just like the gopis, they were always seeing Krishna. Krishna never left Vrindavan and they were always in touch with Krishna. Yet every day they're waiting for Krishna to come. In the same way, the devotees are always in touch with Krishna, yet they're waiting to go to the temple to see Krishna, who's there personally in his physical form, in his form that is Shama Sundar, Krishna. So, so it's inconceivable, oneness and difference, right? This is our philosophy, and it comes up in every situation. Achintya bheda bheda. They're seeing the Lord always, yet they personally want to be where the Lord is, which is where his deity form resides. A person who is dedicated to serving the Lord and out of friendship sees and treats him as a human lies down in the Lord's temple. So another wonderful example, this image reminded me, though it's not the same image, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? He is the greatest devotee of the Lord, as the Krishna himself coming as his greatest devotee. Yet he would swoon in ecstasy when he would go and see Lord Jagannath. He would be in separation from Lord Jagannath and he would run into the temple of Lord Jagannath. If Krishna is everywhere, why was he wanting to go to the temple of Lord Jagannath? Because that is the mood of a devotee. That is the feeling, the emotion of a devotee. Nectar Devotion is primarily a book not about logic, but it's a book about bhakti, about emotion, about this pure love. So a devotee is here saying is so dedicated, he's so attached to the Lord, that out of his friendship, again, this is Raganuga, we cannot imitate this, but this is the stage of ecstasy, that he even sleeps in Krishna's temple because he doesn't want to be separated from Krishna. And that was exactly the example that I was saying, that if Maharaj had it his way, he would put his bed inside the temple room. But of course, that was not possible. So he would be next to, near, in the temple complex, near Krishna's temple. And he would go in the temple at least twice a day, morning, evening, to do artik, mangal artik, evening artik, because that is the stage of ecstasy. Lying down in the temple should be classed as Raganuga sadhana because of disregard for Vaidhi sadhana. And what is wrong on the stage of Vaidhi sadhana may be right on the stage of Raganuga sadhana. And that's why, again, we need to be careful in judging devotees because we don't know what stage they're at and what their mood is. However, attraction for feelings of friendship is cultivated in both Raganuga and Vaidhi sadhana. Right? So on the Raganuga level, we do inexplicable things like this, like sleeping in the temple room. But on the stage of Vaidhi sadhana, that feeling of friendship is also there. It's very much there in the form of wanting to preach Krishna consciousness. And on this stage of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, right, particularly preaching Krishna consciousness makes us into a friend of Krishna. And then that friendship becomes manifest in the form of attachment to Krishna's form, like we said, the deity. So also in serving the deity, one is being a friend, but also in preaching Krishna consciousness. And the result of both things is that we become more attached to Krishna. And that becomes manifest in so many ways, also in the ecstasy or the addiction to preaching, right? Devotees were very advanced, so constantly preaching Krishna consciousness. One time there's a devotee who was serving Maharaj, and he was his personal servant, and he sometimes was, his nature was such that he was just a little clumsy, and so he wasn't the best personal servant, externally speaking, materially speaking, in terms of his nature. He would sometimes even bump into Maharaj, and Maharaj was so delicate at that time, he would fall over. And so one time I asked him, I said, Maharaj, why are you, engaging him in this service? Just curious, because we're afraid for you. You may fall over, or this may happen. And so he says, you see, this devotee, he in his van, he goes all year round and he distributes alone. And if he did get someone, he would go with someone. But if no other devotee was available, he would go alone and distribute Prabhupada's books, both in the summer and in the freezing winter. And so he said, you see, the spiritual master becomes very indebted to the disciple when they distribute Prabhupada's books like this with so much determination and so intensely all the time. And you could see that he had won, he had earned his way. Of course, by Krishna's mercy only, but he had earned his way to the spiritual master's association, where even though he wasn't good for that service, he could not be, the spiritual master was engaging him in his personal service because of his acting like a friend to Krishna, right? And that becomes the quality of a devotee. So, summary of friendship in the second form: I am the well-wisher of the Lord. Like him, I want to help others and relieve their distress. I especially show my friendship with the Lord by teaching others of his glories and the secret of surrender to him. I especially show my friendship by teaching others and giving the secret of surrenders, by sharing the secret, like Ramanujacharya. He received a secret mantra that he was told not to give, but he goes and gives it to everyone. I want to relieve the Lord of any inconvenience out of friendship. Out of my friendship, I want to remove his inconvenience. And what is the greatest inconvenience that Krishna has? That some of his dear sons and daughters are suffering in this material world. It gives Krishna great pain. So a friend is someone who removes the pain of his friend. So by preaching, we're removing Krishna's pain. I may also, in friendship, see the Lord in intimacy with informality. So this is on the very high level, that with that friendship becomes an intimacy with informality. Number 49, one should offer everything to the Lord. One should offer everything to the Lord. This is the final one of Atmanivedanam, surrendering to Krishna, surrender everything, considering oneself the possession of the Lord. Self is sometimes considered to refer to the spirit soul or soul, and self is sometimes considered to refer to the mind or to the body. Full self-surrender, therefore, means not only surrendering oneself as spirit soul, but also surrendering one's mind and body to the service of the Lord. So sometimes people, when they come to devotional life, they're very, very qualified, right? They're accountants, they're lawyers. But when they come to the temple, the only thing they want to do is wash pots, which is very nice. So sometimes they don't want to wash pots. That's a huge problem. But sometimes out of our humility and love for Krishna, we want to wash pots and clean and do simple things. However, if you ask them that you are a CA, you are a CPA, can you please do the temple accounts? Can you please help in that way? Then they say, oh no, I can't do that. That's my work area. And then it's like they don't feel like doing that for some reason, right? But see, we have to understand that surrender means not just engaging our body, not just engaging one thing, our soul or our body or our mind in Krishna's service, but it means engaging everything, body, mind, and soul in Krishna's service. So surrender means, very important part, that whatever talents we have, whatever knowledge we have, we should engage that in the Lord's service. You're washing pots, but someone else can wash pots. But the thing that people pay $200 an hour to do for you, offer that to Krishna. Because that is then you're engaging your mind which is sometimes our intelligence and our mind, is the thing that we develop the most. We're engaging that in Krishna service. So we should engage our skills. Like if we have some skill, we can use that to serve in a very powerful and effective way. Offering the body as Atma is illustrated in Bhakti Viveka. Just as one does not worry about an animal that has been sold, one should offer this body to the Lord and be disinterested in its maintenance. In other words, one should not bother about his personal or family maintenance or sustenance. If one is actually surrendered in body and soul, he should always remember that his only concern is to be engaged in the service of the Lord. So amazing, huh? That just as an animal has been sold, it's similarly the body should be thought of in this way, that it's been sold to Krishna. This body belongs to the Lord. And there's a very nice passage in the Ramayana where Lord Rama tells this, I think, to Bharat. He says that my body is meant for service to others. My body is meant to suffer for serving others. And a very amazing viewpoint, approach, that this body is meant to go, because he's speaking about his exile, and Bharat is saying you're suffering in the forest and there's so many thorns and there's so much heat, and the forest is very hard to survive in. But he's saying, no, this is the purpose of my body, so why should I do otherwise? Because he has offered his body to the Lord, he gives up all activities for pleasure in this life and the next, which nourish his body and things related to that body. The Lord then thinks, I desire to make him special. He then attains freedom from death, amritatvam, and attains similarity to me, atma bhuyaya. This means that he attains liberation in the form of attaining his swarupa and sarshti powers like those of the Lord. Surrender of self as mind. My mind, my household affairs, my body, whatever is in my possession, my dear Lord, I offer to you for your service. Now you can do with them as you like. You are the supreme possessor of everything. So if you like, you can kill me. Or if you like, you can give me protection. All authority belongs to you. I have nothing to claim as my own. This is Atmanivedanam. This beautiful bhajan by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Sampade Vipade Jivana Marane Dai Mama Gila Tua Opada Bharane. Sri Yamunacharya, in his prayers to the Lord, has expressed a similar idea in the following words. My dear Lord, I may be living within some body as a human being or as a demigod, but whatever mode of life, I do not mind, because these bodies are simply byproducts of the three modes of material nature, and I, who am in possession of these bodies, am surrendering myself unto you. So not just in one life, but in many lifetimes, the devotee says the same thing. For all of his lifetimes. Atmanivedanam, in its purest form, is rare because of the difficulty in execution, not because of having an elevated status, since it may be executed even without bhava. However, if Atmanivedanam becomes mixed with emotional relationships, it will become rare, because of its elevated status as well. 50. One should offer a favorite article, such as food or a garment. So this is now more items in terms of devotional service. So special, whatever we may think, whatever I like, let me offer it to Krishna. One should take all kinds of risks and perform all endeavors for Krishna's benefit. Wow, this is like, it's just one limb of devotional life, but how amazing it is, right? I mean, just our whole life can be trying to do this one limb of devotional service. One should take all kinds of risks and perform all endeavors for Krishna's benefit. And what a perfect picture for this. Srila Prabhupada, he's taking the greatest risk for Krishna, the risk of his own life. And here Krishna is guiding his boat. Just see, so amazing. You can't imagine the inner life of a devotee, right? How deep is their inner life? Narad Pancharatha says, not only should a devotee engage himself in the prescribed duties of devotional service, which are mentioned in the revealed scriptures, but he should also perform the duties of his practical life in Krishna consciousness. For example, a devotee who has a great establishment or factory may offer the fruits of such a material possession for the service of the Lord. So this is not taking the risk so much, but this is offering everything. So the same point that I was mentioning, that if someone has, like the Beatles, right? They were so famous. Prabhupada didn't tell them you give up your band and you come to the temple. He could have said that, but a better service was to offer the results of their fame in Krishna's service, as they did in My Sweet Lord and other things. In the same way, if one has a big factory establishment, eventually one has to give it up and become Vanprastha sannyas. But one may use that establishment in Krishna's service and do so much service for Krishna. Number 52, in every condition, one should be a surrendered soul. In every condition. So not just in good condition, bad condition. This is the same point we were mentioning in all conditions. Happiness, distress, fame, infamy. One is a surrendered soul to Krishna in every condition. And this is Sharanapati. Number 52 is accepting the Lord's protection. In every condition, one accepts the Lord's protection. With faith in protection by body, mind, and words, my dear Lord, a person who has surrendered himself unto you, who is in firm conviction that he is yours, and who actually acts in that way by his body, mind, and words, can actually relish transcendental bliss. In the Nrsimha Purana, Lord Nrsimhadev says, anyone who prays unto me and takes shelter of me becomes my ward, and I protect him always from all sorts of calamities. So Krishna is giving his promise. What do we have to lament? We must just take shelter of him, and he will protect without a doubt. This is why great devotees are very attached to Lord Nrsingadev, because they know that it is Nrsingadev who is protecting them, and therefore then no one can hurt them or affect them. See, this is the accepting the Lord's protection, that we don't want anything from Krishna. The devotee is not asking anything from Krishna, but we have to accept Krishna's protection, right? We are accepting his protection. That is something Krishna is offering to us. So therefore the devotee accepts it and must accept it. That's a quality of a great devotee. If Krishna likes, he may keep his devotee in a poverty-stricken condition. Or if he likes, he may keep him in an opulent position. The devotee should not be concerned in either case. He should simply be very serious about trying to satisfy the Lord by rendering him service. Right? That is the key thing. What is the relationship between Atmanivedanam, item 49, and Sharanapati, item 52? A surrendered devotee may engage in both of these limbs of bhakti, thus encompassing all 6 aspects of surrender. Some devotees take up only one. For example, while Rupa Goswami describes Atmanivedanam as very rare because of its difficulty, many devotees will find Sharanapati a comforting and desired way to live. So, so there's a difference of approach here, and this approach is very subtle. In text 49, sorry, in the limb 49, one is surrendering to Krishna. Whatever you do with me, I'm a surrendered soul. And but some devotees, they focus more on this Sharanapati, that just Krishna, I'm surrendered to you. You take shelter. You protect me, right? So it's the same thing, but this is specifically one of the 6 limbs of surrender. So there's 6 limbs of surrender, and we'll go through them. But this one is particularly a very important one, and one that is easier for us as sadhakas. That we may not be able to, but we may not be able to become fully surrendered. That Marubhidaka Bijoy Chatuha, that Krishna, you can destroy me, no problem. That's a very high level. But what we can do is say, well, I can't allow myself to be destroyed. I'm not on that level. I'm just, so then what I do is that I have full confidence in your protection. I let you protect me. And your protection is always there. I have the full conviction that Krishna, I'm yours, and you will protect me, and accept your protection. Conversely, at advanced levels of spiritual realization, some devotees have a mood that they're caring for the Lord. Such devotees include those who act as his parents and teachers in his various incarnations. So the difference here also is one of approach you're saying is that some devotees, they want Krishna as their protector. So in one sense, let's say they're the child of Krishna. And with some devotees, they are taking care of Krishna. They have a feeling of possessiveness towards Krishna. And this is actually the highest stage of prema, where in the stages of bhava, actually, in the stages of bhava, the highest level of bhava is not just accepting the Lord as your protector, but feeling that you are the Krishna's protector and caretaker, that Krishna is actually depending upon my service. And the devotee is not feeling this out of pride, the devotee is feeling this out of great love. There's no pride there, just unlimited love, that oh, I am meant to take care of Krishna, and this is the way Mother Yashoda feels, or Sandipani Muni is feeling, especially Mother Yashoda, that Krishna, if I don't feed him, he will be hungry. Krishna is dependent on my protection. And that's different from Sharanapati, right? Sharanapati was that I am being protected by Krishna. The Sharanapati would be at odds with their ecstatic loving mood. They cannot think in that way of Sharanapati, that, Krishna is protecting me, because they have a feeling I am protecting Krishna. Yet such persons could fully take up the practice of Atmanivedanam. Of course, from an ontological perspective, even those in an ecstasy of feeling, they are the ones who care for Krishna. They are the ones who care for Krishna really under his care and protection. One should pour water on the tulsi tree. Number 53. One should pour water on the tulsi tree. So the glory of the tulsi are unlimited, and I believe this is our last one. Tulsi, there's a whole Tulsi Mahatmya. It's so amazing, Tulsi's glories. She gives pure devotional service to us. Item 10 refers to the attitude towards these, and item 53 refers to physical acts of service for them. So item 10 also talked about worshipping Tulsi. So the slight distinction is made that 10 is talking about the attitude and 53 is talking about the physical action. So item 10 was to respect living entities who are related to Krishna, like banyan trees, cows, brahmanas, and tulsi. Item 53 offers specific ways in which to daily serve such entities, especially tulsi. The ways to serve tulsi: simply by seeing, simply by praying to, simply by bowing before, simply by hearing about, or simply by serving the tree. There is always auspiciousness. I mean, Tulsi Maharani, she liberates even the demons just by her touch. So banyan trees are there, but there's no comparison really between service to Tulsi and banyan trees. Banyan trees are dear to Krishna and they're auspicious trees, but Tulsi tree is unalloyed devotee of Krishna. She gives pure devotional service. Here specifically Tulsi is being mentioned, and in text, in the number limb 10, it was, these cows, brahmanas, they're all very dear to Krishna, so we should respectfully behave with them. We should respect them. Okay, so it's exactly 8:30. We went a little longer in the lecture today because we did 2 chapters. Maybe we can take like 1 or 2 quick questions and then we will end before Haripriya's summary. Thank you. Yes. Bhadra Krishna Prabhu. You can unmute, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
So I have 2 questions. One is from chapter 8,
Yes.
where it said one should begin worship of the demigod Ganpati, who drives away all impediments in the execution of devotional service. In Brahma Samhita, it is stated that Ganpati worships the lotus feet of Lord Nrsimha, and in that way he has become auspicious for the devotees in clearing out all impediments. How do we understand this? Because we always hear that if we are serving Krishna, then we don't need to worship any demigods. They are automatically satisfied. And here now it's saying that we should start our devotional service by praying to Lord Ganesha. So how do we understand this? Because then people can ask questions that on one hand you are saying don't worship demigods if you are worshipping Krishna. Now we are saying worship the Lord Ganesha.
Yes. So actually, Prabhu, very good point. We are worship. The limb is saying to offer respect and worship Ganapati as a devotee, right? As a devotee. So not as a demigod, because he's a very great devotee of the Lord. So, but the question still remains. The good question that you raise is that, in ISKCON and our practices, we don't do this, right? We don't have like prayers to Ganapati like we have Om Gyanam Tivanandasya Gyananjana Shlakaya. We don't do that. And my limited understanding is that Prabhupada did not emphasize on this limb of devotional service as many others. There's some that are emphasized more, some are emphasized less, because of the tendency of demigod worship. So if we introduce this, prayers to Ganapati in the beginning, then people will start worshiping him like a demigod, and he gives other things also, like money, good grades on exams, and all these things. So people will misunderstand it. Just like some temples, ISKCON temples, have small Ganesha, a small Shiva temple, like Gopeshwar Mahadev, all these things, because Lord Shiva is always at the entrance of Krishna's temple, and he removes the bad elements. He protects the temple. But in most temples, we don't, because it's just, again, the emphasis should be on Krishna, and there's a tendency, if we have Ganesha and Shiva in the correct way as devotees, we're worshiping them as Krishna's dearest devotees, then that is wonderful, but it can slip into demigod worship. But this is a question that I myself would like further clarification on, because it's specifically one of the limbs of bhakti. So maybe it's something I can ask and get back to all of you.
Prabhuji, can I add something with your
Yes,
permission?
definitely.
Prabhuji, the question is very valid, and it was in my mind as well. So
Mm.
I was just reading one Harinam Chintamani,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a very amazing and very beautiful book. And
Mm.
so there it was, in one of the line it was mentioned that, we should worship demigods as a great devotee, because Krishna says that, my devotees are very dear to me. So when you
Mm.
worship them, you're worshiping me.
Mm.
So, for example, if we are worshipping Ganesha, so
Mm.
Ganesha is a Vignaharta. So we should worship Ganesha and ask him, whatever obstacles or Vigna coming in our bhakti, please take them away.
Yes.
So similarly, like to Durga Ma also, we can pray that whatever, give us that Shakti and power so that we can overcome all the problems.
Mm.
We can focus on Krishna.
Mm.
So that was the essence, and which I really liked it. And it was a good way to motivate, the devotees who are towards the worship, the demigod worship, so that they don't feel offended, and they feel like, yes, they are going in the right direction. Finally, ultimately, they'll go to Krishna only.
Yes. 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 So you're correct, and that's why many places it says that as devotees, like gopis went to Katyayani, Mother Durga, to ask Krishna that please make Krishna, to ask her that please make Krishna my husband. And so actually on our Vaishnav calendar, Katyayani Vrata is there. And some devotees, they observe it for 1 month. They will eat unspiced khichdi once a day, and that's their vrata for Krishna. Yet at the same time, these practices of worshipping the demigods as devotees was not popularized by Srila Prabhupada. Right? In his lectures, we don't hear Prabhupada saying, so you start every arti by offering a prayer to Ganesha, or keep a murti of Ganesha outside. And so that remains a question, that why Prabhupada and in ISKCON we don't do it as visibly as one could, even as respecting them as a devotee. And Prabhupada, in fact, speaks very strongly against demigod worship of any form. And there, he doesn't give like a exception that, well, but worship the demigods like a devotee. He says that if really pressed and asked, but he, in his normal lectures, when he speaks about demigod worship, he doesn't then mention that well, devotees can pray to them as devotees. Rather, he focuses on we should pray to the six Goswamis of Vrindavan, right? Many lectures he says, pray to the six Goswamis of Vrindavan, pray to the spiritual master to remove obstacles on the path of our devotion. Every class we start with Om Agyanam Timirandasya, praying to the spiritual master. So this is the point here that that yes, we are accepting the Lord's protection through his devotees, but in terms of demigod worship, that focus is not so much there. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Do we have time for the second question?
Yes.
Okay. So the second question is from chapter 11, where we discussed that if our devotional service becomes intense, then Krishna becomes our friend, or we treat Krishna as our friend to protect us. And again, here also in this aspect also, we always hear that our position is das dasanu das. So we should always look at serving Krishna as a servant and not in any other form or relationship, because we are not that pure. So how do we understand this aspect? Because the question always comes up, right? That so many people we see, they take their Laddu Gopal and travel, and then they say stories, and we hear so many other, similar things. So how do we understand this? That are we in a dasya bhav always, or we can go to that level of being a friend, or any parental form or anything?
Yes. No, nice question. Nice point. So that friendship is not a sentimental friendship. Like you're saying, people say, oh, Krishna is my friend, so they take their Laddu Gopal everywhere, this, that. But that friendship is also dasanu, dasanu, das. That I'm the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, but I'm serving in the mood of friendship, where I'm serving Krishna as a friend, right? So it's the mode and the mood of service, not that we are the servant of Krishna. We're the servant of the servant, but I'm serving him as a friend by preaching Krishna consciousness. So in every rasa, we're the servant of the servant of the servant. Just like we have Krishna's intimate friends, and then you have Krishna's friends. So the friends are serving the intimate friends who are serving Krishna. Like everyone in the spiritual world, even on that level, is not competing with Mother Yashoda or Srimati Radharani, but they're thinking, I'm their servant of a servant. So the same way as sadhakas, we are, Prabhupada's the friend of Krishna, right? But we are his servant of the servant of the servant. And because we are serving him in the same mood, in the same process that he gave, therefore we can also be his friend in that way, Krishna's friend in that way. Yes, thank you. Nice point. Thank you. Okay, Haripriya, please summarize and then we'll end.
Yes, sure. So my notes on chapter 10, a little bit late, so I was not able to write the points, but I just wrote some notes. So my first point was that, so we can see that the pure devotees of Krishna do not revenge, or if cursed, they accept it. And the example of this, like you gave us Parikshit Maharaj, that even though he was cursed, he accepted the curse and he did not revenge. And even though he had the power to take the curse back, like he could give it back to the Brahmin's boy, but still he accepted it. So that's the devotee's quality. And similarly, we can see that Vridasur, he accepted to be killed by Indra. For the satisfaction of Krishna, because he knew that Krishna, he didn't favor the demons, and Vritasur was from a demon family. So therefore he, because of that only, he accepted to be killed by Indra. And then my last point is that we can see that if we don't have enough materials or anything else, then we don't have to serve Krishna. We can serve him mentally. And then I had some points from chapter 11. So we can see that that we talked about seven topics. Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedana. So they were the main ones, and then we had the 50, the 51, the 54th, the 52nd, and the 53rd. So my points from for the first one were that if one is not interested in making Krishna happy, but offers Krishna the fruits of one's activities, that is bhakti, but not pure bhakti. And then we can see, and then my points from Sakyam is friendship. So we talked about the two topics: Vishwas, trusting Krishna, and Mitra, considering him friend. And then the lotus feet of Krishna are the life and soul of his devotees. In Vishwas, Krishna becomes our well-wisher, and then like as you said, that Mitra becomes more sweeter, and we become the friend and well-wisher of Krishna.
Mm.
And in that example, we can see that Mother Yashoda, how she cared for Krishna,
Mm.
even though she was his devotee. And then my points for the third one was that one should offer all things to Krishna. An example of this is Bali Maharaj. So he gave all of him, even himself, to Vamandev, because Vamandev was asking where he could put his third feet. So he said that put it on me. So he even gave himself to Krishna. So that was Atmanivedanam. And then you can see that the 50th one was one should offer all one's likes to Krishna. And specifics were like garlands and prasadam. That were the specific ones. And then for my 51st was that one should take all this for Krishna. An example of this is Prabhupada. Even though it was not safe for him, still he came here in America. Uh, Even though he knew that it was hard for him because he was very old, and even though he survived two heart attacks, still he uh, he surrendered to Krishna, that now you can do whatever you like. And then my next point was that, so 452nd was that taking Krishna's shelter and accepting his protection in every condition. An example of this is Prahlad Maharaj. So Prahlad Maharaj, he surrendered to nursing Dev, and he accepted his protection when Hiranyakashipu was trying to kill Prahlad Maharaj. And then the last one was one should pour water on the tulsi tree. And then you also told the distinction between the 10th quality and the 53rd quality. So thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Very nice. Such a nice summary as always. And thank you everyone for your kind attention. We went a bit over time here because we did 2 chapters, but hopefully you're feeling a satisfaction in doing both chapters. I put the homework for the next 4 chapters, but you only need to do the 2 chapters. Just gave it so you have it. You know, some people like to do things in advance. And we will meet next Saturday. Hare Krishna. Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.